any minute, a farce of fishmen would burst into the Bayswater boat shed, breaking logic, defying decency, and smashing the established order. But before things get remarkable, let's cut immediately and unapologetically to an abject failure. A total lemon. The king of nothing. Gary Graves. You could hardly see him amongst the assembled media, the old guard in scrum formation with Gary at the back, raising his rig like a periscope. At 37, he was the youngest cameraman in attendance. That wasn't overly surprising. This was legacy media, slowly fading into irrelevance, but never quite giving up the ghost. Anyway, someone had to film this yawn-inducing boat bullshit, and it might as well be Gary, caught mid-yawn, when in they came to save the forthcoming paragraphs. Shit. Dripping with slime, their necks fringed with gills. Fish they were, and men they were too. Majestic in a way, stupid in another. But often it's the stupidest things that reveal the deepest truths. And so it was with Fishmen. The door slammed shut to a chorus of screams. There they stood, and there they stayed. 3 they were in number, but more they seemed in stage presence, res if you will. Green was the first, the second purple, the third more specifically was duck egg blue. Holy shit, muttered a sailor, an accurate summary of the general consensus. The green one, their leader, stood 7 feet tall, a hulking slab of muscle and fins. His brother in purple was thinner, sharper, with a quizzical brow. Duck egg blue was the comic relief. By virtue of his appearance and the specificity of his colour, he was wavier, curvier, rounder, and stranger, with a cynical smile that he flashed at the crowd. For a moment, there was stunned silence. No one moved. Then the green fish man marched over to the podium, shoving aside an inconsequential sailor. Oi! In his barnacled fingers, he gripped the severed bill of a swordfish.
The time is nigh, the sleepers have risen, and as this bill states, all the earth shall be ours.
He gazed at the bill, ready to announce the prophecy, then remembered a minor hiccup with major implications, for the prophecy itself had been crafted in secrecy, shrouded in mystery, hidden from the world by...
Invisible fucking ink! Whose idea was that?
Snarled the fishman as the camera crews crabbed closer and the microphone at its lips squealed. Gary lined up the shot, pulling focus on the leader. Now he was on, now he was focused, and for once it felt like something worth filming. Again, silence. And then it spoke.
I require a lemon,
the creature growled. A titter of laughter, some mutters of what? The lemon, the fishmen, it all seemed absurd. And yet there they were, and
fetch me a lemon, you pustulant slugs!
Roared the creature. No one moved or fetched a lemon, and they all looked confused, until up stepped Jim, broadcaster, moustache, and seasoned man. Why? He bristled. The million-dollar question.
Because only the freshly spilt juice of a lemon can reveal the prophecy.
Hold on, what prophecy? Asked Gary, inspired by Jim's example.
The prophecy we came here to explain. Only we can't bloody explain it, because it's lemon bloody activated. Now fetch me a lemon, or...
Or what? Sneered Jim. Because last time I checked, we have a free and independent media in this country.
You used to,
snapped the fishman in green.
But we're here to change all that. This bill, the Bill of Rights, grants us inconceivable power to rule you like peasants, to own you like dogs, to sell you to the streets like worthless...
Behold, a lemon, said Mike. Production assistant, fetcher of lemons, respecter of hierarchies, media or aquatic. The purple fishman swiped the fruit from Mike's hands and sliced it clean with a flick of his fin.
At last, roared their leader, the juice of revelation! Now kneel before me as the prophecy is revealed.
Only Mike knelt, As a production assistant, he was accustomed to unreasonable orders, but everyone leaned closer as the lemon was raised on high, and finally, lightly squeezed. Gary scrambled to higher ground, framing a clean shot of the juiced-up bill. He zoomed in tight, spinning the lens into sharp focus. Letters shimmered on the bill of the swordfish, glowing ancient, incomprehensible, and then... Wait, was that his name?
At 11:15 a.m. on the 3rd of September,
Read the Fishman, which the boat shed clock confirmed.
in the year of aquatic supremacy 2027, having taken control of the ocean, the lords of the deep will leave it to claim what is rightfully theirs, total dominion over land and sea. First, he continued, they will wander aimlessly into a boat shed, commandeering a media briefing from some irrelevant boaties.
Hey, that's not fair, shouted an extraneous sailor.
Can we keep a lid on these sea dogs?
The Fishman gurgled.
I'm trying to read a prophecy here.
The media scrum shoved the irate sailor and his pals into the background. The regatta was old news. The real scoop had fins and a strangely specific prophecy.
At the hour of ascension, the Fishman continued, they will transform the yawn-inducing boat bullshit into the coronation of the century, when Gary Graves presents them with the seal of kings.
The room turned, not metaphorically, physically, a slow, deliberate swivel of cameras, broadcasters, and bystanders. Is this actually happening? Thought Gary, sliding awkwardly out from behind the camera.
Where is he?
Asked the quizzical Fishman, angular and purple.
Where is Gary Graves?
Mike was kind or subservient enough to provide an answer. This is him, he said, already pointing. This is Gary Graves. And it was. And he was getting recognized at last. All it took was being mentioned by name in a Fishman's prophecy for somebody to...
It's time, Gary, proclaimed the leader of the Fishmen. Bring forth the seal of kings, and let the coronation begin.
Gary patted his pockets as if he might actually have it. This thing he'd never heard of. The seal of...
Gary Graves, this is no time for tom-fucking-foolery. You do have it, don't you? The seal of kings.
More scrounging, no results. The glare of the spotlight suddenly blinding. Gary cleared his throat. Yeah, nah, eh? For the uninitiated, yeah nah is a colloquial saying from New Zealand that generally means no. The yeah at the beginning is simply there to soften the blow of the phrase's true meaning.
Which is it? Asked the exasperated creature. Do you have the seal of kings or not?
Yeah, nah, Gary stammered hopelessly, because no answer felt right, and neither did he. Something momentous was happening, and Gary, being Gary, was messing it up.
This is your last chance, Graves. Bring forth the seal of kings.
I don't have it. I'm sorry, Gary finally admitted, seeing the dejection in the leader's eyes.
I didn't want to read this part. I really didn't,
said the creature, raising the Bill of Rights once more.
On the off chance, he read, that Gary Graves royally screws the coronation, fails to deliver the seal, and brings shame upon fish and men the world over, then the prophecy shall be null and void. Null and void, I say!
You mean the prophecy dies because of him? Gasped the quizzical Fishman, gesturing at Gary like a damp accusation. And what now? We just settle for nothing? We did get the sea, muttered the third and final Fishman, remarkably unfunny for the comic relief.
We were promised land and sea, roared the leader, and I, for one, am not about to settle for the wet half.
So, what do we do?
There is one last line on the bill, said the dejected Fishman, a little subclause tacked on for good measure. It says, if all else fails, your best bet is to kidnap Gary Graves and force him to make things right.
Suddenly they were barreling towards him, three unnaturally slimy fishmen with kidnapping on their minds. Was Gary scared? Yes. Shaking, actually. But every kidnapping has a silver lining. And it was hard not to respect their choice of victim. Out of everyone in that room, only he, Gary Graves, was considered worthy of being kidnapped. Cameras flashed, a mic grazed his head. Nobody helped. Gary! Gary! Shouted a journalist. Any thoughts on your abduction? This isn't a prank, is it? Inquired another. Or an ill-conceived activation event? What's it like to be kidnapped by fishmen? Quizzed a third and final reporter while offering no assistance. Truth be told, it was terrifying, and yet invigorating too. This was history in the making, and Gary was part of it, being kidnapped by a whole new species. And as they hauled him toward the door, one thought crystallized in his mind. This might be the opportunity of a lifetime, or he might die. Both were options.